Your car starts running rough, the check engine light comes on, fuel economy drops, or the engine hesitates when you press the gas. Now you are wondering, is the problem a bad O2 sensor or a bad MAF sensor? This is where many people waste money. A bad MAF sensor can make the engine run lean or rich, and that can trigger O2 sensor codes even when the O2 sensor is not the real problem. And a bad O2 sensor can also affect fuel trims, emissions, fuel economy, and catalytic converter performance. So in this video, I'll show you the signs of a bad O2 sensor, the signs of a bad MAF sensor, how to tell the difference, what codes to look for, and what to check before replacing either sensor. What does the O2 sensor do? The O2 sensor, also called the oxygen sensor, monitors the amount of oxygen in the exhaust after combustion. It sends that information to the engine computer so the computer can adjust the air-fuel mixture. Most modern vehicles have more than one O2 sensor. The upstream O2 sensor, also called sensor 1, is located before the catalytic converter. This sensor helps control the fuel mixture. The downstream O2 sensor, also called sensor 2, is located after the catalytic converter. This sensor mainly monitors catalytic converter efficiency. That difference is important. A bad upstream O2 sensor can affect how the engine runs. A downstream O2 sensor problem may trigger a warning light or catalyst-related code, but it usually does not create the same drivability symptoms as a bad upstream sensor. What does the MAF sensor do? The MAF sensor, or mass airflow sensor, measures how much air is entering the engine. It is usually located between the air filter box and the throttle body. The engine computer uses this airflow reading to calculate how much fuel to inject. If the MAF sensor is dirty, contaminated, unplugged, damaged, or reading incorrectly, the computer may add too much fuel or not enough fuel. That can cause hesitation, rough idle, stalling, poor acceleration, bad fuel economy, black smoke, lean codes, rich codes, or misfire-like symptoms. Signs of a bad O2 sensor. One common sign of a bad O2 sensor is poor fuel economy. If the upstream O2 sensor gives wrong feedback, the computer may adjust fuel delivery incorrectly. Another sign is a check engine light. Common O2 sensor codes include P0130 to P0135, P0136 to P0141, P0150 to P0155, and P0156 to P016. These may point to oxygen sensor circuit faults, heater circuit faults, slow response, or sensor performance problems. A bad O2 sensor can also cause rough idle, unstable RPM, poor acceleration, or a strong fuel smell from the exhaust if the engine runs too rich. Some vehicles may fail an emissions test because of a faulty O2 sensor or incorrect fuel mixture. In serious cases, a bad upstream O2 sensor can contribute to catalytic converter damage if it causes the engine to run rich for too long. Extra fuel can overheat the converter and lead to expensive repairs. But remember this, lean or rich codes do not automatically mean the O2 sensor is bad. Codes like P0171, P0174, P0172, or P0175 mean the computer sees a mixture problem. The O2 sensor may simply be reporting the truth. Signs of a bad MAF sensor. A bad MAF sensor often causes more immediate drivability problems. One of the biggest signs is hesitation when accelerating. You press the gas, but the engine stumbles, jerks, or feels delayed. Rough idle is also common. The engine may shake, vibrate, or struggle to hold steady RPM. A bad MAF sensor can also cause stalling, especially when slowing down, stopping, or idling. Since the computer is calculating fuel from bad air readings, the engine may not get the correct mixture. Poor acceleration and sudden loss of power are also strong signs. The car may feel weak during highway acceleration or climbing hills. Black smoke from the exhaust can happen if the MAF sensor overreports airflow and the computer adds too much fuel. A dirty or failing MAF sensor can also trigger codes like P0100, P0101, P0102, P0103, or P0104. It may also cause lean or rich codes like P0171, P0174, P0172, or P0175. How to tell the difference. If the car hesitates, stalls, jerks, struggles at idle, or loses power almost immediately when you press the gas, suspect the MAF sensor, air intake system, vacuum leak, or airflow problem first. If the car drives mostly normal at first but has poor fuel economy, emissions failure, rich or lean fuel trim problems, or O2 sensor circuit codes, look closer at the O2 sensor and exhaust feedback system. The timing of the problem also helps. A MAF sensor problem can affect the engine from startup because the computer uses airflow data right away. An upstream O2 sensor usually becomes more active after the engine warms up and enters closed loop. So if the problem gets worse after warm up, the O2 sensor, fuel trims, exhaust leaks, or mixture control should be checked. But do not diagnose by symptoms alone. Use the codes, fuel trims, air intake checks, and exhaust checks together. Before you replace either sensor, do these checks. First, Step 1. Scan the vehicle before clearing codes. If you see P0100 to P0104, start with the MAF sensor, MAF wiring, connector, air filter, intake boot, or airflow reading. If you see P0130 to P0161, check which O2 sensor is involved. Bank 1 sensor 1, Bank 2 sensor 1, Bank 1 sensor 2, and Bank 2 sensor 2 are not the same location. If you see P0171 or P0174, the engine is running lean. If you see P0172 or P0175, the engine is running rich. Step 2. Check the air intake system. Look for a dirty air filter, loose air box, cracked intake hose, loose clamp, disconnected vacuum hose, or air leak after the MAF sensor. Any unmetered air entering after the MAF can make the engine run lean and may cause O2 related codes. Step 3. Check fuel trims with a scan tool. Fuel trims show how much fuel the computer is adding or removing. If fuel trims are highly positive, the computer is adding fuel because it sees a lean condition. If fuel trims are highly negative, the computer is removing fuel because it sees a rich condition. Positive fuel trims mostly at idle that improve when RPM increases often point to a vacuum leak. Positive fuel trims across idle and higher RPM can point to a dirty MAF sensor, intake leak, low fuel pressure, or exhaust leak before the upstream O2 sensor. Negative fuel trims can point to overfueling, leaking injectors, high fuel pressure, or a MAF sensor over-reporting airflow. Step 4. Inspect and clean the MAF sensor. If the MAF is dirty, clean it only with proper MAF sensor cleaner. Do not use brake cleaner, carb cleaner, or compressed air. Do not touch the sensor wire or sensing element. Let it dry completely before reinstalling it. Also check for oil contamination from oiled aftermarket air filters. Step 5. Inspect the O2 sensor wiring and exhaust. Look for melted wires, damaged connectors, corrosion, or a blown heater circuit fuse. Also check for exhaust leaks before the upstream O2 sensor. An exhaust leak can pull in outside air and make the sensor read lean. Step 6. Be careful with P0420 or P0430. These are catalyst efficiency codes. They do not automatically mean the O2 sensor is bad. They can be caused by a weak catalytic converter, exhaust leak, engine misfires, rich running, oil burning, coolant contamination, or sometimes a lazy O2 sensor. How to fix a bad O2 sensor. If diagnosis points to the O2 sensor, confirm which sensor is faulty before replacing it. Bank 1 sensor 1 is not the same as Bank 1 sensor 2. Inspect the wiring, connector, and heater circuit first. If the code is for a heater circuit, check the fuse and power supply before replacing the sensor. If the sensor is slow, stuck, contaminated, or has failed internally, replace it with a quality sensor. Use the correct O2 sensor socket, avoid damaging the wiring, clear the codes, and test drive the vehicle. Also fix oil burning, coolant leaks, misfires, or rich running problems because those can damage a new O2 sensor and catalytic converter. How to fix a bad MAF sensor. If the MAF sensor is dirty, clean it first with proper MAF sensor cleaner. Replace the air filter if it is dirty, and make sure the air box is sealed properly. Inspect the intake tube between the MAF sensor and throttle body. Cracks, loose clamps, or disconnected hoses can cause false MAF symptoms. If cleaning does not help and the MAF codes or bad readings return, replace the MAF sensor with a quality part. After repair, clear the codes and test drive the vehicle while checking fuel trims and throttle response. If this video helped, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and watch my other video here on bad MAF sensor versus bad MAP sensor symptoms. The video link will be here and below.